Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elise. Today I've got a simple Easter card featuring stamps and dies from Trinity Stamps. Here is a look at the project that we are going to make. And let's jump into the supplies. So I've got this floral cross stamp set and the die set, and I'm just going to be using that die that cuts out the largest, the cross. And then I have got some Bristol smooth paper that I'm going to ink blend on, some Neenah paper that I'm going to Copic color on, some yellow ink, and a blender buddy to get that ink down. I have got my Waffle flower water media mat here, as well as some palette paper to protect it from any potential staining. All of the products that I use are listed in the description box down below for your convenience. I am just stamping this big floral cross image using Gina K amalgam ink because I'm going to do some Copic coloring. So that's my favorite ink for Copic coloring. This is a very large stamp, and it's the first time I've used it. So I did ink up twice just to be sure that I got a really good impression. The first time I didn't get that great of an impression, even with all of this rubbing to make sure that it's right. So this is after I have inked it up the second time. And now I'm ready to do my Copic coloring. Here is a look at the markers that I used in today's project. Not very many markers at all, just 7. I've got quite a bit of the Copic coloring here. It does cut out just at the end. I didn't think you needed to see so much repetition. I am just going in with Y17, Y13, and Y11 for these leaves. Some of these leaves are extraordinarily tiny, and I don't really feel like they needed multiple colors. So some of them ended up just being the dark color. I Copic color darkest to lightest. I know some people do it the other way. For me, this just works, and it's kind of now habit. So this is the way that I do it. Just going around and filling in all of these leaves. It is a pretty detailed stamp image, but I think that, you know, it did not take me very long at all to color it. Maybe 15 minutes. Honestly, I'm not an expert Copic colorer, and as you'll see as we move on to the flowers, I did this one kind of messy. Like I wasn't doing precise shading. To me, the little leaves and the flowers on this are just too small for me to do like intense shading or something like that. The only time that I'm willing to do that is basically on like a really large floral, like the Love You bunches from Trinity Stamps. That I'm going to Copic color just a little bit with some more detail. I'll link a video at the end in the cards and right now up top of another floral Copic coloring with that Love You bunches. And you know, for a project like that, I'm more willing to do some intense shading. But on these, basically on all of them, I am coloring the darkest at the base of the flower, or excuse me, the base of the leaves. And then when I move on to the flowers, I am doing the darkest in the center and going light as I go out in a circular motion. Seriously, nothing fancy. There are a lot of little dots on this, and so I just fill those in with yellow, knowing that I'm going to do some yellow ink blending for the background of my cross. I think right now it's especially important to send cards to loved ones. You know, I think, you know, none of us are really going to spend Easter with our families this year. And so I just want to send out cards and let people know that I'm thinking about them and that I wish I was celebrating Easter with them. So here is my super messy. I'm just coloring the centers dark. Nothing fancy. These markers are RV. I think it's 69, 66, and 63. If I've got that wrong, I'll list it down in the description box. So just going in and blending that out. The lightest marker on this trio is quite a bit lighter. And so, you know, it takes a little bit of blending to get that blended out, but in the end, I really like how this looks. So just going around and doing that ink blending, nothing fancy like I said. And then what gets cut off here in a second is just me going in with the yellow, which is Y04, and coloring in those little dots. But I hope this gives you a sense of how I colored this image. Now let's move on to the ink blending of the background. So I've got my piece of Bristol Smooth and I've got this light yellow ink and my blender buddy. And I am just going in, I tap a little bit off to try to get a little bit of a light hand and just go in and blend, blend, blend. I have realized that these blender brushes I predominantly use for dye inks. I don't use them for oxide inks, but I love them for dye inks. I could never get a blend right with dye inks with a foam tool, but with these, perfect. Now I am going to die cut that out using an A2 layer die about the same size as my cross. I've got some foam tape here. We're just going to finish off the card, and I'm going to pop up that yellow ink blended panel with some foam tape onto my Neenah Solar White Classic Crest 110 pound card base that I have already cut and scored. So here is that yellow panel. I am just going to add that to the center of my card front. Love these A2 layer dies because they make you know, getting that perfect size so easy. I'm not a good cutter with my paper trimmer. Sometimes I mess up. So I've got more foam tape to pop up that cross. I love adding foam tape and some dimension to my projects. I think it just gives so much life to the cards. I'd love to hear in the comments down below if you're doing anything special this year for Easter. You know, my husband and I don't have children, so we don't have to deal with, you know, Easter bunny and things like that. You know, the Easter bunny does not come to the home of adults, but, you know, I'd love to hear if you're doing anything special for your family or your kids, and maybe give me an idea. So just popping this cross onto that yellow panel. See, that yellow just gives like a nice glow around the cross. Using some liquid glue to attach my sentiment, which came from that stamp set. And the little sentiment says Easter blessings. And I'm just going to put that right in the center of the cross there. And then I couldn't decide. I felt like this card needed something a little extra. So I went and got some Nuvo drops. These are the jewel drops, which dry a little bit clearer. And I am just going over some of those larger little yellow dots on the cross and just adding these on to just give a little bit of dimension. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I'm not, like I said, there's a lot of little dots on this, but I'm not doing every one. And that will really wrap up the card for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what other types of card projects you'd like to see from me. At this point, I'm putting out pretty consistently 3 videos a week, so I want to make content that you all want to watch, especially as we maybe all have a little bit more free time these days. I'd love to have you subscribe, ring the bell so that you get notifications from me. And thank you for subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one.